Are you?
Oh, those are next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't ask him. It was just funny. He was like, do you know? Yeah, that's like your number.
Like, I don't know how else to get your number.
That's
I've been in
okay.
meetings.
That's okay. Shall we?
Not seeing anybody in the Zoom box. I did hit the record button on the Zoom because we talked about this being something we could record and have accessible for all parents that want to participate and just can't make this date or time. We're struggling to get people here and struggling again today, it looks like, to get everybody here. And so
I think there's a good group here though.
this is much better than last
Like,
month
this
was
is
gonna
really
be just a few, and it was like, not sure. We really want to have some key topics with everybody, so. The agenda to,
Oh, it's something.
oh,
Sorry.
okay.
That's our brand new Allendale.
Yay. There are some new faces in the room. Beth, I wanna make sure you can hear me okay. You can chat or you could
Turn on the mic.
unmute yourself there. Hi, Beth.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you.
You got elected and on you came. We love it. We love it. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna turn the meeting over to you we just wanted to make sure people knew,
Yeah,
since the first meeting, there wasn't a lot of people and
yeah. Welcome, get going. Yeah. And we did have to skip October. Sorry, 'cause so many people were unavailable. But we're glad everybody's back. And welcome Beth Naylor, right? You're the new Allendale rep. And then we also have Nancy Wright here representing Riverside. So welcome. We're glad to have you. I think it's a great group.
yeah.
Good thing to be a
Yeah.
part of. So do we need to spread the word at South and Gladiola, or how do we? Nudge
If you
people
have a
on
connection with
Some-
South or Gladiola, that'd be great. If you
I
know-
reached out to principal
Great,
and told them that we're
we
underrepresented.
need somebody.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have a parent in
I
mind.
do, and I mentioned it to him, but I don't know how that went, so I'll talk to my,
You mentioned it to me after the meeting and
Okay.
a little spur of it.
yes, yes, I do, and I think she's
Yeah.
interested in joining, so.
Great.
Yeah.
But will she wear burgundy too?
Well, right?
I didn't get the memo.
It's a color theme.
With the three of you it is. Welcome, Sarah. Oh, we got, see now, look at here. Just a few minutes and we're gonna have a full.
There she is.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, welcome.
Great. Okay, let's go ahead and approve our September minutes. Sorry, I got that right.
Mhm.
Do I have anybody who, I don't know if you had a chance to glance over them, but anybody who would motion to approve those minutes?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Just tell her who motioned.
Susie.
Okay, and
And
who
Stacy.
seconded, thank you. Great, and all in favor?
Okay, thanks. I don't know.
We're glad you're here.
Learning how to things.
I don't feel like you have.
We
to
don't
vote.
mind.
I feel like you probably, well, you have the packet, right, Beth? We got you the packet. Okay, but you weren't here anyways.
We don't need to worry about it, yeah. Okay, looks like it's all approved. I didn't know, did anybody abstain or vote against it? Okay, sorry, I didn't check that.
Thank
All
you.
right, and should we just move on with the agenda and what's here? Okay, let's start with our PAC roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, we just wanted to take a second since we did have so many new people and so many people absent from the last time to just open up the conversation again about the importance of and value our Parent Advisory Council brings to us as district leaders, but also to our school board, who really looks to, what are the parents saying? What are we hearing from the parents? And so it was really hard last month with some key topics to have a meeting and not have much to say about what we were going to be hearing. So we decided to cancel. We will talk about December at the end of the agenda to see if there's conflicts. Beginning to wonder again about date and times of these meetings. We will always have it via Zoom and we will record, so it will be available, but it's not the same as in the moment hearing your voices at the table. Your role as PAC members is to really kind of help guide and give us some direction. It's not necessarily to your own student issues for your school. Those you should be taking to your principal. These will be really more district topics and district focus kinds of things, helping us with what curriculum, assessment, instruction, activities, because a lot of times we do that too, seeking your feedback. And so any thoughts or questions about what we could do better? And as you see, we're struggling to get a couple of parents from a couple of schools. What could we be doing to engage parents more in these conversations? Is there something else or different we need to try?
I won't say that there's something different that you need to try, but when at the beginning of my first term, it wasn't entirely clear to me that part of my role was to take the information and the questions from here back to my school. And so making sure that that is clearly stated, that that is part of the engagement process, is involving your own school after you have had your meeting.
And you
or
can do that
the
in a
other
couple,
way around,
yeah,
right? Like,
and you can do it in a couple ways if you participate in PTA or site council. And quite frankly, when you're hanging out in the,
Say soccer games.
Waiting, yeah.
yeah, when you're
Yeah.
waiting in line,
Sharing
to
with
pick up your
parents.
kid, or you're in the school and you meet a new parent, just the opportunity to hear, to share back and forth. We really want parents to feel like they have a voice in this district, and this is our format to do. We have several formats, but this is a key one in terms of big district topics.
asking for that agenda space, like on a PTA or a family group meeting, so that you remember and the school remembers that you have that back and forth dialogue, and that parents hold that space to come to you at those other meetings, and that you also are going to share information at those meetings.
And we can remind principals to put that on the agenda at PTAs.
Or to check,
Yeah.
if they send a newsletter, to check with their PAC representative to see if there's anything important that should be in the
That's
principal's
great.
newsletter.
That is a great idea.
Good idea, yeah, thank you.
I know when I represented Allendale and South in the past, that was site council at Allendale that I did, and then also PTA meeting at South, and just was able to then kind of spread it and send off information. But
May I ask a question?
Yep.
I'm wondering, my curiosity is how many people who aren't on the PTA, the general population of parents, what kind of education is going out to teach parents about what PAC is and what we're doing? And maybe is there a way that, if they aren't on the PTA, like what ways can they communicate with us?
I liked that newsletter idea. And if it's the school secretary pulling that newsletter together, or the principal or whoever, just getting information into that newsletter that goes out to everybody in the school. I don't know if there's other
Letting
ideas.
the school know who their PAC representative is, and then opening that line of communication.
We could do social media post, get in the queue for that as well, just as a general, that would be something short, but just,
Well,
did you know?
If nobody minds, that could go out from the district saying, here's your representative for your school, if you have questions. I don't know if everybody's comfortable with that as a representative or not, but. And maybe contact the school and they can put you in touch with that rep, or,
Yeah.
who knows?
Mhm.
Just,
Not all schools have a site council or active PTA or even
Mhm.
newsletters that go out, and so
Oh,
I was so
sorry.
I would look also at that bigger grants past district newsletter as a place to regularly mention the PAC and what its role is, and link to the website.
I think we missed having something in there for this last month. I just was,
Mhm.
I know we did to start the year, but we did not continue, so we'll follow up.
I've appreciated, members of the school board have actually come to me before and said how much they appreciate what we discuss in here, because they'll often just come listen to this and recognize, topics that they're gonna have to vote on and hear our opinions to kind of, get a feel. And they do that regularly. So just so being on this council, they do listen. They're like, okay, what's the feel of what the parents are thinking? And this is where they come to get it. I mean, they still have other avenues as well, but this is definitely one.
Good idea. I think we could share the most updated roster with them that includes your
Mhm.
emails. So that if they did want to reach out to you, it'll be a good
And they
avenue.
have.
Yeah, and they have.
I feel like it's kind of a point of order, but it might be really appropriate to this conversation. One of the things I was curious about is if rather, I know that we're struggling in some cases to even get a single representative, but is it something we could look at and do we need to change our bylaws to have a proxy available as well, where a school has an alternate, so that in the event that the main member can't attend, they can send the proxy instead?
Thought.
I like that idea.
Mhm. Or that they need to just find someone to attend for them and give them the notes.
Oh, that's a good idea. And do you think that that proxy would need to be voted on? Could you, like,
Just have
you know,
concurrent.
you're not gonna be there next month, but you have your circle. And are you available? Are you available? Can one of you step in?
That's what I
And
was wondering
just
because we have
delegate.
bylaws.
We
That
have
say
our,
that there will be this many people from each school, and so I was curious
Yeah.
what the formal presentation of that would be, and if it would require a vote of the members to say, yes, I accept that you can shoulder tap somebody to come for you, or yes, you have to vote in a alternate for the whole school, and it's not really up to the member, how that would work, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice to send
Yeah.
somebody in our place.
It would be
Just kinda-
nice if it can be a shoulder tap
As I
thing.
say, that's on the practical level.
Yeah.
The reality.
It would just be,
Then have-
it would actually more likely happen
Mhm.
if it can just be.
Yeah.
great ideas, really great ideas.
Is that something that has to be run through a little vote in here? Or
Um,
where does that go up the line to
I think
approve?
it goes right in here.
Okay.
I think we'll run it by the superintendent. They'll probably wanna talk to the board chair about it, but my guess is
But,
if you guys are comfortable with it being a shoulder tap and being able to find a proxy, I think that's a great addition along with some of the other suggestions that you've had today. We're looking for ways to, and not just in the PAC, but how do we involve parents? How do we make sure they're informed? They know what's up in our schools, full transparency, what's going on.
I think, and if that shoulder tap thing worked, it also then helps expose other parents to what that happens in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And allows other
Yeah.
people to visit
Yeah,
it
I
and
like
say,
it.
"Oh, I could run for that. Or
I like
Right.
it. I
Yeah.
think we would just ask that you let us know, hey,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
month I'm not gonna be here and so will be here. That would be really helpful to us. Cool. All right.
Good idea. Okay, let's go on to the preschool update.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know because we ran out of time in September. Preschool is still up and running, so our second year of our actual preschool, third year of family play groups. So they are two different things. And we are currently serving 36 students in preschool and 36 families separately in play groups, the structured play groups. So expanding there, so very excited about that. And the new thing I wanted to share is that what did happen actually over the summer, or maybe the very end of June, is that we were awarded preschool promise slots. So preschool promise is the only state funded preschool that Oregon has. And it is not tied, it's separate from any typical K-12 school funding. It does not come from the Department of Ed, and it is primarily the purpose. There's different stated purposes, obviously to provide a high quality preschool experience for students, for children, but it is also to help support working families so that they have a quality place for their their child to go. And so therefore it is a full-time requirement. Like, so our preschool is actually half-time, 2 half-time sessions, and that way we're able to serve more students, but also we feel that is more developmentally appropriate for that age group. Not we feel, that's what the industry says. But for these preschools promise slots, they actually come to our morning preschool, and then we have a separate room where they go, just those 9 students for the afternoon and have a continuation of their program. They have lunch and snack and recess. They actually have a required nap time. So when we say all the time, kindergarten's not what you used to think it was with nap time, well, preschool is. Yeah, they have their little cots and blankets and, uh, and then they do a continuation of some of the things that they did in the morning session as well. So that's exciting for our families, but also it is another step in financial stability for preschool. So just a reminder, no district funds are going to support that preschool. It is all done through grants and scholarships and donations up to this point, except for now this preschool promise funding, which paid for the additional staff we need and partially pays for the teacher that we were already funding. So it's another step in some stability so that we can continue the program. So I just wanted you to know that that was a new addition.
Is that money consistent, or is it for a year, or is it?
No, it's a, well, everything is
I know.
a year, but historically, since Preschool Promise started, entities who get those funds don't lose those funds
Continue.
unless there's an issue with
Having
the program,
Got it.
right? So something like that, but not because of funding.
Okay.
Until now.
Right.
And the hub is very supportive as well. I worked at a preschool promise site
Oh.
for some time, and the full time is, I believe it's 6 hours. So it's you guys, it's probably you were doing a 4-hour session, so it's only 2 hours more as well.
Yeah. So where do you work? Where do you work?
I used to work at Imagine That. Currently, I work at Options at the crisis resource, the children's resource team.
Yeah, with Michelle, great. Or
Yeah.
with Imagine That, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was our exciting news. That was a new addition with Preschool Promise funding. We will continue to seek to get more of those slots funded that way, because if we can get, once we can get the Highland site fully sustainable outside of our donations and grants, then we can look to move to another site and expand, which is the next big donation thing that we're working on. Is we're gonna do things a little bit differently. We learned a lot in starting up with our first site. We're gonna start with the actual physical site, and we do already have a promise of a $100,000 matching grant to get a early learning playground set up like we have at Highland. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's wonderful. But it's about $250,000 to $280,000 dollars to do that. If we can raise the additional funds, we already have a donation of $100,000. So and so that will be the first thing that we do is choose our site and then do that playground so that we're shovel ready for opening up new.
To have. Nice.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to Epic Parent Preview by Trish.
Yeah, we partner with the Pregnancy Care Center at the secondary level, middle school and high school. Pregnancy Care Center has a program called Epic. I'm going to share my screen. Really trying to save some paper, and so on the agenda, there's going to be a lot of live links going forward. And then even within those live links are more links to other background information. If people really want to dive in and learn more about some things, you'll see that on a couple other pieces. This document is a lot of pages long, so I didn't print it, but we've had presentations from the Pregnancy Care Center before. I did not choose to bring them in because it hasn't really changed. What they do annually is make tweaks to the parent preview. So what this allows parents to do, and before we cover our sex ed units and Pregnancy Care Center comes in, parents are notified. But this gives opportunity for parents to kind of preview what the scope is. Middle school and high school are all in one. The way they've really altered this, the way it works is there's kind of a menu of lessons that the teachers can choose from, and then they don't do necessarily all these with our students. It kind of depends on what time they come into their quarter or their semester, what they're covering. They really try to make it fit in to the overall scope and such. So that is out there and available to parents. Actually, I need to get this updated on our curriculum webpage because that's where this should live. Oddly enough, Pregnancy Care Center came by yesterday and gave some flyers to Susan and I thought, well, I need to give these to parents, and they didn't give us very many, but they are hosting an event in, I think it's 2 weeks, on a Thursday night. We've had some dangers of pornography presentations to our students. It's a topic we have to cover at the secondary level. This one is specific for parents and the dangers of pornography. It looks really interesting. I actually put it on my calendar because I've been asked to bring Fight the New Drug was the pornography group, or the anti-pornography group that came in and presented to our students. But that it just was not a good format for us, whole school assembly format. So we are always looking for ways for how can we enhance our skill set and knowledge base with social media and cell phones. I will tell you, we did just update our middle school and high school handbooks around cell phones and around sexual harassment, particularly around the distribution and sharing of naked pictures. It is a real thing out there that parents need to be extremely cognizant of, aware of, frankly, checking your kids' phones and talking to them about it. So this intrigues me just because of what we've been talking about. How do we as an educational entity do more to educate our students? But we can't fight this alone. This is really a parent partnership that needs to help in this work. So any questions about EPIC or what we're doing in our sex ed units? We're going to talk about the health curriculum again later on in the agenda, so it might come back up.
And just saying, oh, go ahead.
So has this been approved? And my second question is how are teachers picking and choosing which topics? Because I can see a lot of things getting skipped, and I guess that's a curiosity that I have because that seems concerning.
Yeah, I hope to alleviate your concern because our teachers cover all of these standards and content in the classroom. It's a matter of how it fits into the scope and sequence, because the EPIC person is one person and she goes to every school in the county and in the city. And so sometimes she comes at the beginning of the quarter or the end of the quarter. And depending on where you are as a teacher in your scope and sequence will kind of dictate what you maybe eliminate. Most all of these topics are covered, but depending on, again, maybe it's the week that she can come to your school, it's not a 5-day week, it's a 4-day week. So you only have 4 days, so you have to cut out one of the lessons, but you're going to cover the lesson at a different time. It's not that students are skipping the content. It's that partnership of how does it fit into the overall education bit. It has gone through the approval process multiple times. We've been doing, gosh, Michelle was in the health classroom when we started about 15 years ago. And since then, Pregnancy Care Center has really overhauled this curriculum. And each time they have done an overhaul, this one's not an overhaul. I think our most recent adoption of this was just within the last 5 years. Because now the last couple of years, they've just made some tweaks to it. But it has gone through that formal process all the way up to the school board as well. It's a supplementary curriculum, but it's a guest speaker that comes in and works with our students. Does that help?
Yeah, and I guess there's the thought that it is a faith-based organization, and it just seems that I saw that there's just one slide about protection, and I think, it's very small little piece, and it seems like it's lacking a whole picture of sexual health and wellness.
Yeah, and that's where our teachers will come in and supplement further. It is a very abstinence-based program. And it does cover, there is sections on the STDs and STIs and the importance of protection related to preventing those diseases and such. But like I said, they're usually only in the classroom maybe 4 or 5 days, depending on the time of year. And the teacher has the entire term. And so they're finding ways to continue to reinforce the skills and concepts the standards cover.
I know we'll be talking some more about the health curriculum in a
Yep.
little bit, but I would just say as a parent, I've gone into and sat through one of these presentations when they've come in, just find out when they're coming to your school and go sit down and watch one. Or even if your child's not in the class, just call the school, go sit in on one, because they're, it's good to watch, but it's, informative. And then you can be like, okay, I know what my child's being taught. And I was very comfortable with what they taught, and how they did it. So, but just saying, parents are welcome always to sit in the back there and listen. Anything else on that? Okay, we can move forward with We Are GP core values.
And really, I'll just cover these next two because they're
You
really.
want to jump into that now?
Yeah, they're kind of all
That's great.
combined. Wanted to make sure parents know on our district webpage is our vision, mission, and strategic plan. We start with the We Are GP because this, and you see it, we see it because it's behind all of you guys, but we really are a learning community committed to excellence and success for all. So how do we live that? How do we do that work is something we talk a lot about. Our core values, we bring this up this year because we really are trying to emphasize the importance of We Are GP and through our core values. So this month is accepting. Last month was enthusiastic. September was welcoming. We really try to focus on a core value. Student of the month is usually selected based on the core value at many of our schools. Schools are doing, like at secondary, our advisory lessons at the middle school really utilize the core value to focus on how we're teaching kids. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do you do those traits in your own day-to-day life? The other thing on this page is our strategic plan, which is almost completing its second year of being in existence. Community members came together. Some of you in this room were at that and got invited to an update we're going to have in February. But we developed these 6 goals. You can click on these links and they take you into further development of the goals. I'll click on the educational excellence one because we're going to talk more about this. But you'll see what our goal targets are and then what the strategies are. Our plan is to update the committee that helped put this together. We try to update you all as well. And so that's one of the purposes of today. There's a lot of information and probably too much to go into much detail. So if you want more details on something, we'll circle back to. What we've put together that you have also a copy of in your packet is the longitudinal performance growth targets, which is directly tied to some funding that we get, integrated plan funding with student investment account and high school success funding. But then also our school board set some very specific targets, year-to-year targets, that then we monitor our progress. We see how we're doing. Check in with you, we check in with ourselves. Okay, how's this working? How's this not working? What do we do? So our actuals for 24-25 are in there. Green means we met that target that we had set. I will tell you, we just got the preliminary data for our 4-year graduation rate, and we will meet that target as well. We're going to talk more about this, so I'm just giving you an overview of the data, and then we'll talk more. third grade reading and fifth grade math are areas where we need to continue to focus and build some strength, eighth grade math as well. Our 5-year cohort, we will meet that target of 87.9% as well. And something we're really going to focus on at a community event you're invited to next week, Thursday the 13th. It's been in our district newsletter. It's been pushed out. It's going to get pushed out again this week. Trying to remind parents and community members that we have a session at 4 o'clock in the library at Grants Pass High School on Thursday. We're really going to focus on attendance and behavior, because we always talk about behavior, so why not talk about it some more? But attendance, you can see we took a major slide backwards in attendance from 2 years ago to last year. And quite frankly, if they don't come to school, these numbers, and we're not gonna give a lot of excuses. We need to get better at this. But we can't get them better at this if they're not at school, right?
Right.
So how do we, and we have seen a real dramatic attitude shift in families not sending their kid to school. Excused absences are the same as an unexcused absence. If you're absent, you're absent. And to be considered a regular attender, you can miss no more than 18 days in a school year. You can
Which
miss.
is still a
That's
lot
a
of
lot.
days.
That actually is a lot.
It's a month of school you can miss and not be. We don't want you gone that much.
Yeah.
But when you're gone 2 days a month, it adds up.
Mhm.
It adds up. And we're really trying to focus more on social emotional aspect of that. You're missing the connections to your peers, your teachers. It's not just about the academics you're missing, but we hear from our business partners all the time. We need kids to come to school. We need we need our workers to come to school, to collaborate with others, to be good thinkers and problem solvers. Well, if they want us to teach that, we need them to come to school. So how do we fix this problem? Because it's really a problem. Taking a deeper dive, and this is why it kind of all ties together, and then we're going to open it up to questions, conversation, your thoughts on improvement. One of the goals is around third grade reading and fifth grade and eighth grade math. And so these scores were public last month, and we were going to do an activity with you last month, but we just don't have a lot of time for that today. To kind of look at where our strengths, where our weaknesses. Want to give you kind of an overview of all this data in the cells, and you have a copy of this too. For 24-25 participation rate, and that becomes important when you look at at the high school level. We don't meet participation rates. That's the percent of students that participate in our state assessment. And how can we up that? Because who knows if they would have met or not met. By not participating, they're an automatic does not meet. So that's what the red line means. Percent met is the percent of kids at each school, and then the blue line is for us as a district, and I'm going to really focus on district data, and then how we compare to the state. What we look at data all kinds of ways. We look at, okay, so third grade improved 23-24 to 24-25 by 2%. And the state also improved by 0.2%. And then we do a calculation of how are we compared to the state. And then we provided data on the number of kids who opted out, which means their parents, and they all count as do not meet. So those kids might have met too, but their parents opted them out. So then you can go kind of, the green is meant to show where there's growth. And then we do yellow on the, where we compare to state average. So that's kind of how the data works. Oh, I'm on math. Did you know that? I'm on math tab. That's our math tab. I kept saying language arts, and it wasn't language arts. This is math. We'll come back to that. Language arts. So again, our we did grow at third grade reading, and the state also grew. You can see how we did at third. This is fourth grade. This is fifth grade, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and then the high school. Number of opt-outs, participation rate. Because all of that can factor into why are these scores, I mean, are we proud of 55% of our juniors meet the state reading assessment?
No,
Oh,
absolutely not.
oh, we want to do better than that. So we come up with strategies to work on that, but we also want to be cognizant of they didn't all participate
Mhm.
and a bunch of them opted out. So, you know, what would that number really be?
What's the difference between not participating and opting out? So opting out, I thought would be the same thing as not participating. Are there other kids
It is the same.
that didn't opt out that?
That just didn't show up and take the test or
Okay,
didn't, or
that's what that is.
didn't click and.
Got it.
Do it.
And then is there an assessment made of why the parents are opting the kids out? Is there any of that information that's being
They,
reached out for?
yeah.
We try to have, when there's opt-outs, we try to have them meet with the principal to talk about it, or, and sometimes that sometimes that happens and sometimes it
Sure,
doesn't.
I realize that's extra work. I was just
Yeah.
curious if sometimes it's a simple, they don't understand what it is question kind of a thing that can be turned around a little bit or not, you know, or how this helps our district, you
Mhm.
know, because I know the information goes out
Mhm.
as to this is important and here's why, but many of them don't read it or
Don't
I just
care.
wondered if there's some that can say, you know, that we could change their mind a little bit just through personal.
Some of it is,
conversation.
my kid gets anxious at taking
A test.
an assessment. Some of it is because the law allows me to.
Right.
Some of it is,
Perceptions about government and.
Right, I know.
conspiracy theory,
Using
what they're
that
using the
data.
data for, all that, like, okay. It helps us, it really, we spend a lot of time with our data to look at it, to say, okay, what does it mean? What are we doing? And then we try to take action. During the course of, you know, like right now, there are things happening in language arts and in math district-wide. There is a science tab too, that's not as high stakes or as focused on, for us as language arts and math, so. That, anything you'd want to add?
Just, you know, this paints one picture. We also look at a lot of other data. We have in-program data, we have our benchmark data, like at middle school, they use iReady reading and math. We use iReady math at elementary. We also use Dibbles for reading. So we're looking at
A lot of
things
information.
along the way. We don't just wait for this.
This is the one time.
This
one
is one
moment.
time, but it does give us really good information. This could be a whole hour talking about this, but just a tidbit, something we've done just recently or just this fall, we've had a consultant through the ESD, the Educational Service District, work with K-8 teachers on diving deeper into OSAS. So don't just look at this score, but dive deeper into the information that OSAS does give us on actual you know, writing questions versus reading questions, or the different math strands, if we were looking at math, and then tying that into state standards. And then what we did most recently, just last week, was then take that even a step further and identify, okay, where's one of, we have multiple standards to choose from that we need to work on. But let's concentrate on one and then tie that directly to our curriculum. Where is that represented in our curriculum or not represented? Where do we need to beef it up? Where do we want to make sure, oh, actually, that's something I maybe skipped because I didn't know that it, you know, how closely it tied to the standard. So, oh, mark that in my teacher's edition. So, yes, this is what gets printed in the paper and gets reported on, but there's actually a lot of rich data that comes with it when we dive into reports that can help us instructionally.
I have a question.
Yep.
I have had a number of conversations, like feeler conversations about what information parents are receiving or not receiving via Parent Square. Like what is white noise and they miss it completely and what they actually click. And I found that in almost every situation, they've missed 99% of the messages about school updates and fundraisers, but they click on this one. And I'm curious if there are, what I remember of this was it just is like, the report card is ready, you can click on it. And there wasn't any additional information with that. And I don't know if that is state regulated that you can't explain or put any sort of propaganda in with it, but I feel like I know from being here that these opt-outs and non-takers count against the score, but even I forgot until you just said it again. And so I feel like the general population doesn't know that. And it might be an opportunity to educate that, you know, these are the numbers. Please understand that if kids opted out or they didn't participate, it counts as a fail. And if you as a parent have any concerns about our testing processes, please reach out. We would love to have a conversation with you and start that education piece early so that when they look at these scores and they go, oh, I'm not happy as a citizen or a parent about these scores, they're already understanding what their role is in that. So that was part one. Part two is I have also heard that the test, because it is such a long format, that doesn't fit with how programming currently happens. And so there's that separation for the student in their attention span and what they're used to. So I don't know, I think about things like preset and how you have the opportunity to get an experience about what it might be like. So when you're talking about parents who are like, oh, my kid gets anxiety and he's not a good test taker. Is there any opportunities in the future for the district to offer some sort of pre-test to OSAS so that you remove that fear of what it's going to be like to sit for a 45-minute test as opposed to a 10-minute test? And then the other thing I just was kind of a comment, I don't know if other schools are doing it, but Riverside makes a huge party out of test weeks. They have a theme, they wear t-shirts to match, they decorate the campus with the theme, and then there are reward incentives along the way. And so kids feel that sense of, oh, I want to be there because something is happening. So anyway.
That's a great idea.
On the last point, so that is being replicated district-wide. We've already built the test weeks into our calendar for elementary. They are the same for all 6 elementaries. We'll have a theme, it'll be communicated out. So a part of the deeper dive work was meeting with picking the brains of schools that are having some more success, but also individual teachers who, not just 1 year, but over a few years have had more success. What are you doing differently? And sometimes it's some bigger things, but more often than not, it's subtle things that are done routinely. So one of those things is that it's not, it's a test, it's a celebration of your learning. So that's being replicated district-wide. So there'll be, when it comes in the spring, you'll see things about that. If
Is
you
that
haven't-
new-ish that you're?
District-wide, it is new
District-wide,
for
okay.
this year, yeah.
Thanks.
And then the second point, so there's a thing, so this isn't necessarily on a family level, but at school, we've been doing a lot of work and pushing out of what's called interims. So interims are those, they're not practice test. There's a practice test as well. But interims are replicate the look of the OSAS test and can be tied to the actual topic standards curriculum that's being taught in just day to day. So maybe instead of doing this in-program test, we could find an interim that's testing the same standards, but it will replicate the process. They have to log in. So, so for like 3rd and 4th graders, that's a big deal, just to have to log in with their ID card and things like that. So that is now this year built into our curriculum map. So there's actual like 4th grade, this week, this is when you're doing an interim, and here's a sample interim that you can do. We're encouraging teachers to do more of that, but there's now at least a baseline of times throughout the year where that will be happening. I can't remember your first point.
The one about what comes out in the newsletters or whatever online.
For the opt-out
Just
option.
even-
Yeah.
Yeah, just that little, I loved it, the idea of
Yeah.
just a little paragraph to kind of say, hey, just heads up as you read this.
Mhm,
Yeah.
right.
I have a comment and question that tie in to all of this. So that 19 for the 11th graders,
Mhm.
that's out of
Oh,
how many, 400?
Mm.
So like less than
yeah.
1/10%, so
Yeah.
yes, it counts, but it's like not the reason, there's other reasons.
Right.
And I do like Stacy's suggestion because it helps to prevent a growing number of families opting out, which would be problematic and not desirable. So just pointing out 19 feels like a lot, but in the numbers, it's not. And then the other thing is, as I was looking through, of course, I'm from Highland. Highland dropped in almost everything but one category for one grade, but Lincoln improved in everything. And so that example of taking what Riverside is doing and making it district wide is wonderful. And I'm wondering what kind of opportunities are being given to the principals and the students from one school to collaborate and talk and learn from other schools? Yeah, like what are you doing that we're not doing? Or what are we doing that's not working and you've already figured out that's not working so that there can be that learning from each other?
Yeah, and that's what I was referencing, that we're being more intentional about that, about interviewing, getting a sub. We got a sub for a couple of different teachers and we just met for half a day here in the conference room and picked their brains. And then I share that out with the principals. We also built in things that they were doing into we call it a curriculum map. That's the actual calendar of the whole year. Like you're doing unit 1 these dates, you're doing unit 2, here, those sorts of things. And we have that mapped out for the whole year. So building in those things that certain teachers are doing into that curriculum map. And then, so like last Friday, we had a kindergarten through 5th grade rep from every school, along with the principals, met with that consultant that I referenced. We were at Parkside for 3 hours Friday morning and doing that exact work and sharing it out. So also when the test coordinators, each school has a test coordinator. There's some sharing out at that meeting, and we had a elementary only pre-meet right before that meeting where again sharing out ideas, and so trying to be more intentional about picking the brains of the people who are being successful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you do have to look at over time, because we do have each year it's a new class, and so but and obviously that does and can impact scores, but who's getting consistent
Yeah, that's why this
results.
is great that you did it since
Yeah.
2021. But Highland every year is dropping. So something's going on.
I'm curious too if there's a connection as well for teacher retention rate and the scores going up or down. And I also just want to echo that I think it would be really valuable to teach parents about what it is, and also maybe making a note about, why, but also the privacy aspect that their kiddo isn't going to be a part of a number. Because I heard, jokingly talking about the conspiracy theory, but maybe there's a fear of like that their child will be singled out, or there's that barrier.
And just educating the parents that that's not what I know you have too, but trying to reemphasize that.
How do you all decide by what amount you want the district to improve in each of those categories, the bigger categories that you showed before this?
Yeah, we actually had a strategic plan meeting with the board. Ultimately, those were board decisions.
Okay.
So we presented different ways of going about it, philosophies. I mean, some entities like to do, goal setting based on statistics and what's actual statistically realistic.
That's what we actually did with the Oregon Department of Ed. We had to create longitudinal performance growth targets, and it was totally based on statistics.
Right.
It was mathematically what is really possible.
Yeah.
But that's different than what the board
And
chose.
so we took that and Yeah.
Yeah, and then, and another philosophy is, I mean, ideally, we want it like,
100%.
like we want 100%, right?
100%.
And so let's shoot for what we really want and so that's just it's a different way of looking at it, and the board wrestled those ideas and came up with these.
Do you feel like they went with what's more aspirational or what's more achievable? Right,
Aspirational.
okay. That's helpful, thanks.
Had an interesting conversation yesterday with a teacher. She's part of our association leadership, and she had gone to forget the name of it, but she met with, the organization met with some state leaders, legislators. You know, because a lot of people will look at these kinds of things and make some assumptions about what's happening or not happening at schools and districts, and just we have really this year, another thing we've done is real focus on rigor. And rigor doesn't mean more work and give kids more worksheets and more things to do. It's about the depth and breadth of what we're trying to teach them. And this is many of these assessments are a one-time, one opportunity look. And a lot of people make some, like math is a great example of, we'll just teach them their facts and they'll do well on the test. Have you looked at the test items? You have to be a critical thinker. You have to read the question and understand, what is it asking me for real? Like what, because you can't just do a math problem. You have to think about it. And the depth of that rigor on this one-time assessment, trying to make sure we do that. And then, you know, you'll hear things about how Oregon falls behind the rest of the nation. Well, this teacher said to me, she told the legislators, I'll put any one of our high school kids up against a high school kid at any other state but take their assessment and see how our kids do, take each other's assessments, because we don't all take the same test. So you're not comparing apples to apples. And then some will say, but there's a national assessment that is the same. That's true. However, they don't test every kid on the national assessment. It's a drawing, random. And so it could be, who did you test in my district versus who you tested in, and you know, statistical people. Anyways, you gotta ask more questions, and you also gotta put not all your eggs into a single basket. Like this one score, that's why, you know, Susan said we have a lot of data we try to look at and measure along the way. How are we doing? Yes, we can get better, not denying that or shirking away from it, but how do we keep the motion going is something we constantly do. And frankly, we're all focused on get them across the line. We want kids to graduate with a plan for post-secondary. That's that theme of we're a learning community committed to excellence and success. They've got to go. You got something.
I just have some. Just wanted to share, when we talk about students that are actually motivated and taking the same test, and in this case, that's AT. Oregon scores very well, top 20 in the nation. We rank above Massachusetts, for example, which is always one of those states that is highlighted as the shining example. So when you have students actually motivated and taking the same test, Oregon does exceptionally well. There's not always a lot of motivation for a junior in high school to take their OSAS score and take it seriously. Doesn't impact them personally. Although we did make a change this year for those students that want to do the, what are we calling the diploma?
The honors diploma.
Honors diploma. You know, you've got to pass your OSAS if you want the honors diploma. So we're trying to motivate students to take it more seriously and actually take the test too. So, so when you hear Oregon's number 48 in the nation, well, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, a lot of different pieces of data. So the sky is not falling. Do we wish we were better? Yes. But do we do well? Yes. And Grants Pass High is highly rated in the state of Oregon.
And we won't lower our standards to get better numbers.
No.
Darn tootin', no way. Yep.
May I make a comment? And this may be really far off the mark and a kind of wild idea, but thinking about Redwood and what was shared about the celebration and what I know about from other parents' experiences as far as their strengths in social emotional learning. I wonder if during these testing periods, like what kind of social emotional, like pre work and front loading so they're able to, access that prefrontal cortex so they can do that critical thinking. I wonder how that, if that can be incorporated to enhance, children's ability to take tests successfully.
Like work with something that the families can do? Is that what I just want to make sure I'm tracking.
I would think it would be a part of with a teaching team, it would be something where, pre-test, we're talking about, mindfulness or slowing down our breath. It'd be more of a social emotional piece.
Yes. We do, that's actually a part of the Second Steps curriculum. About anxiety and stress, not don't teach about stress and anxiety, but ways to relieve that, deep breathing, pausing, those sorts of things. So yes, and definitely emphasize during those times we can make sure we're highlighting that. Yeah.
Just one other piece of data that we didn't, that was in your packet, ninth grade success. There's a lot of research out there and statistics that show if a ninth grader can finish the year 6 credits or more, the likelihood of graduation is very high. So that's why so much attention is placed on ninth grade on track. We met our target this year. And so you kind of see our trend, how we look at data by sub pops too. We didn't really talk about that with the math and language arts. We know our target population that we need to work with is special ed. How do we make accommodations for our special ed students? And then by school, Grants Pass High School this last year, 87.7%. Which was an increase. So we were pretty excited about our ninth grade on track results as well. All kinds of data that helps us with, are we on? Moving the right direction, helping kids move the right direction, so.
Chris, can I share something? I may be dead wrong, but we are the experts here. We have all the answers, the PAC board, the statistics. I think the component we're missing, I may be dead wrong. I will take some notes, PAC, Parent Advisory Council. Where's the Student Advisory Council? They have the answers. They have the answers. They will tell you why they don't go to school. They will tell you, if we could tap into them. They are the, what do they call they are the commodity. They are the, you know the term.
Consumer.
They're the consumer. They're missing. No input, shut up, be quiet, we got all the answers for you. We're working on it, we got it, we got it. If we could tap into the Student Advisory Council,
Yeah.
they'll tell you why they don't come to school. They'll tell you when they will come to school.
You have a lot of opinions.
But we're ignoring it. We're ignoring it.
Hearing about the tests and what's wrong with it and for them to hear it.
Michelle, will you share what we just, you're on to something, and we did start something, but we kind of, anyways,
So at Grants Pass High School, we have a very robust leadership program. Within that is student council. So these are the elected kids, the secretary, the vice pres, the pres, all the things. And so we meet, when I say we, Grants Pass High School administration and district office meet with that group of kids every month. And we talk about kind of some of those hot topics, things that we need their feedback on. We've talked to them about dress code. We've talked to them about cell phones, especially last year before the policy got up and running, and then how's it going? What do we need to do? All the things that are big picture that impact the whole school, we do ask for their feedback, and you're absolutely right. They give the most fantastic ideas and thoughts around how our school population is feeling about things. What can we do different as adults and as a district to improve things? And so I literally just wrote down, we need to ask them about attendance and how can we get more kids to come to school? What state assessment, what is the barrier for those kids. Most of them are sophomores, juniors, and seniors, so they either took it as a middle schooler or, you know, for the seniors, they just took it. The juniors are getting ready, but, you know, how do we get more people to participate? What makes the test difficult? What do we need to do better in the classroom to prepare you for the test? So I think we can
Yeah,
ask,
that's a great idea.
yeah, some of those
Really
questions.
great.
So we do that at Grants Pass.
Yeah, and the other part is they need to be acknowledged publicly, buy-in, so the other students can see.
Yeah.
They're a part of it. I'll never forget, I was at a school board meeting in San Francisco. Diane Feinstein was the president of the school board. And there was this kid on the board. There was Diane Feinstein, there was this kid from one of the high schools on the board. He was on the board. I'll never forget that. And we were student reps from the different high schools. I'll never forget that. And they need to really physically, verbally be involved. And they can initiate stuff. They could be the band leaders. They could be the ones that's drumming up the support. They should be the ones in the school, in the cafeteria, talking about, hey, let's take this test. Hey, let's do this. Hey, because they are more influential than we will ever be.
That was the comment I was gonna make, is I think those kids, as you educate them about why
Yep.
a score is lower, they take it back to the
Yep.
kids.
Yes.
Like, come on, you need to take that.
Yeah, and then
There
we do video announcements, and we do like, you know, things that they put it on their social. Cause there's a pretty good following on the leadership social, and so just, yeah, what are some additional things we can do at test taking time that would help kids?
Tim, it'd be interesting for us to try that with our middle school leadership groups. Since we were just talking about student
Yes.
leadership today,
Absolutely.
for us to go down and take one of their class periods and talk some focused topics with them.
Yes, we should.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So two things. One is the question, is there a student leadership liaison to the school board?
There is not.
I feel like in the past, maybe there was, like looking way back. So that just
Might be an
based
additional.
on what you said, opening that doorway to them. Could you go back to the slide where it breaks down the data by population? Because the one concern I had in this conversation that just happened, and what I'm hearing is, those leadership kids are the ones that are coming to school. They are the ones that are gonna graduate on time. And when we look at these numbers, how can we pull from the ones that are at 66%, and make sure that their voice is heard at the table as well?
I was gonna say that same thing.
Could there be a student advisory, that's not necessary? Maybe there's a representative from leadership,
We should try.
but
that.
yeah, pulling in
Pulling in other
kids.
kids, I agree.
Be interesting to try
And by
that
making
with
them
lots
important
of
on that
team
committee, I think you
population.
empower
Yeah,
them
a
to
little.
do better.
Have a
Yeah,
focus group,
I agree.
students with disabilities and stuff.
There would need to be a mix.
Some of these this group is really small, it's 3 kids. But our bigger populations like that, our students with disabilities, our homeless population is another pretty significantly low consistently across all topics. Pulling kids together and having those kind of focused conversations was a great idea.
Good thinking.
This is why we love Parent Advisory Council.
When we
Seriously.
show up.
Yeah, yes.
We gotta show up too.
Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Okay.
Where would you like to go next?
Textbook adoption. Some of you have been through this process with us before, so I'll just kind of give you a big picture and then we'll talk specifics. About every 7 years, we go through a district process of looking at new core textbook materials. Core meaning the bulk of kids are going to use these materials for reading, for math, for science, social studies, etc. Not to be confused with supplemental materials that typically are things teachers through their PLC networks or teachers create, they might use in their classroom. So core and supplemental materials are the things that teachers use in the classroom to teach kids the standards. It happens every 7 years because the state is on a cycle of about every 7 years. Sometimes there's things that disrupt that cycle, but typically every 7 years, the state looks at the state standards and they pull a lot of focus groups together for that work. And revise them, and Michelle participated in the health process with the state. And then the team went back to the drawing board and revised them again, and so those are the kinds of things that we follow. And then the state creates a call to all publishers, any publisher who wants to submit materials in the state of Oregon to have us review them, they submit them. And then a group of teachers analyzes them, scores them against a rubric and says, yes, no, this one meets for us, this one doesn't meet for us. We then take that state approved list, because it also gives us a cost break on materials. And they've done the work of putting the call out to all publishers, hey, we're looking to adopt. They've done the work of how are these aligned? They've done a lot of front loading for us. And then our teachers come together and what's going to work for us? How will this work best for us? What materials do we want to bring forward to use in our classrooms? Then it comes to Parent Advisory Council once the teachers, and that's a whole process in itself, but then it comes to Parent Advisory Council. We ask that you review the materials, and then it goes to the board. Before the board adopts the materials, it's on community. Any community members can review the materials and comment on them. And then the board takes action based on all the feedback, input, review, etc. So it's important to understand that process because of where we're at with health and how we are proceeding with our recommendation. So some of you were here last year and experienced our, hey, we want to use these materials. And this group very wisely and appropriately said, wait, can you talk about? And our teachers went back to the drawing board and I learned a lot about in this process, but we're recommending an independent adoption. So these are materials that are not on the state approved list. They were reviewed in the state of Oregon, but they did not meet the standards. And so some of these links that I have for you are going to take you to documents if you really wanted to dive in and find out, well, why didn't it meet in the state? And what's this about? And what's that about? So this summary update, and I know today is not November 18th, today is November 6th. It is my son's birthday today. Happy birthday, Matt. This is going to the school board on the 18th. And so you're getting a preview of the report that I'm going to make to the school board for adopting secondary materials. So you can click here. I'm just going to do it because I do want to show you. And you're going to have a lot of time if you want to dive in, how deep you want to dive in. But the materials we are recommending are the Essential Health for Middle School from Goodhart Wilcox for grades 6 through 8, and the Essential Health for High School at 9-12. And you'll see both did not meet the state standards. So then you can click on, and it takes you to this is not going to show for my Zoom people, but if you click on that link, it takes you to another document. Here, let me stop sharing. And then let me reshare. Nope, this document. It takes you to a document that tells you what areas it did not meet in. So for the high school, the books we're recommending did not meet in a couple of areas. And then you can go to that tab, culturally responsive, it did not meet. And it will tell you in the comments why it did not meet. And our teachers reviewed that, and we feel, and I'll explain why. So I'm going to stop sharing again because we're not going to read all that today, but you have access to it all to check it out. So that's what that is. That's the approved list, the materials we are recommending. Why do we need materials at middle school and high school? There are some very distinct reasons. The first one is the state of Oregon updated standards in 2023, and the last set of materials we have that are considered core adopted materials were adopted in 2007 and 2009. For those in the health profession, a lot changes
very often.
very often. and there's misinformation, misfacts, that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of advancements in health and wellness. Not saying that the program we're recommending has it all captured right, because I think it's still missing some of the, remember the parent who pointed out, or was it you who pointed out there was stuff about
Someone mentioned
alcohol
allergies,
addiction
and yeah.
but that'll get into some of my additional stuff. Anyways, that's one reason. Second reason is staff turnover. North Middle School, Jessica and I think this is her 3rd year at North. When she came on board, she said, Trish, I need a health curriculum. Where is it? And I went, I don't know. It's that one, 2007 is the middle school one. And she's like, this is not gonna work for me. So she has been having to create, I have a new teacher, Casey Coulter at South Middle School, never done it before at middle school. What's he gonna use? Luckily, Jessica's sharing what she's created, but she's had to supplement a lot. And the only way you would really, we don't approve supplemental material. That would be nuts to do, because there is so much supplemental material out there. But they've been pulling, parents can preview all their materials, they encourage it, it's posted on Canvas, so there's a lot of transparency on what's being used. But it's the current practice is not supportive of new teachers. Also, teachers need materials that are rich in resources. These materials offer updated articles, videos, activities that are fresh and new, and think about it in a different way. And so it helps the teacher with how do I engage students. It's not necessarily just read the textbook, it's the teacher materials and activities too that help enhance the classroom experience. And right now, this year, we are not in compliance with the law. And so we have to complete a little thing that says, are you in compliance with the law? And we will say no, because we're not. We have been asked by our school board to ensure that programs will meet the, we want kids' scores to come up. We want there to be good outcomes for kids. So how can you tell us that these materials are going to help our kids? So in terms of effectiveness, the company has provided some information and that it is aligned to national standards and the hallmark of effective health education. It correlates with HEFAT and CDC's measures as well. And so that is our assurance that these materials are effective. So we are recommending the 2 I showed you, Essential Health High School. I do want to call out, these materials are adopted in more conservative states and conservative communities. Those are some of the examples, including one in the state of Oregon, Douglas County, right up north of us, is a conservative community as well. That we'll start using them in August, and then we did go through, so linked here is the rubric the state board uses. We looked at that, we looked at the outcomes that they said why it didn't meet. And we determined that for us, it is the opinion of our professionals, our teachers are the professionals. They know how to do this job and they know what our community needs from them. In the areas that the state said this program doesn't meet, our teachers will develop lessons, have developed lessons that will cover the standard in enough ways that meet our community needs and our community values. And we believe we would still be in compliance with the state law regarding standards and expectations. So that's what we're taking forward. These other things are all things that you have when you independently adopt. You have to say they're in compliance with disabilities and stuff like that. And those links, I'll take you to the documents that certify that. Here's the important part for you. This link takes you to the materials. You can click on the link, there's the username and password. The company has graciously given us until March 10th to review the materials. So you have months. If you're not an online user and you don't want to do that, I do have a hard copy of the book in my office of both the middle school and high school, so you can come in and look at it. And on our February agenda, because we don't typically meet in March, I will ask you to take action. There'll be an action item to say, do you approve this? Please do not wait until that day to tell me I have concerns about this program. If you review it and you're like, I'm not sure I'm gonna vote for this, please tell me. Because then we're constantly, I'm gonna put this out after we present to the board on November 18th. It'll be in our community newsletter. It'll be out to all parents. Review, tell us. And depending on what we hear back from parents and our community, then do we still want to proceed with this? Why? Here's what we're hearing. And then we'll decide if we really do come forward February 10th, or February 10th, in February, that would be our kind of like, because for budgeting and those kinds of things, we need to have some decisions in place. The materials wouldn't get purchased until July and not in use until August of next year. So there's lots of time to dive in. I will tell you, there's no perfect curriculum out there. I'm sure you're going to find things that it's like the, does it cover enough on alcohol? And then I think it was also, wasn't food allergies, that kind of stuff. And but that helps us with like, oh, let's supplement on that. That doesn't cover that enough, and that's how our teachers use that information when reviewed. But when we initially did this, there were some bigger red flags that caused us to go, okay, we're gonna go back to the drawing board and look a little bit deeper, which our teachers did from cover to cover of the book. And I feel confident in their choice. Any questions about health and the process? The second one, I'm not gonna go as far into because I don't know as much. But of the two most controversial topics I've done this for a lot of years. Social studies is the second most, like, what are you adopting? What are you using with our kids? It's social studies year. And we are just starting the process. So I don't have any sense of things for you. I'm gonna scroll down here. These are all links that could take you to good information. But right now, Susan and I with a team of teachers will be going next week, 2 weeks, to look at what the state has approved. And there's quite a list. I mean, you can click on the list of materials. There's a lot more publishers who have submitted for this than did health. And so we have a lot to get through. Our teachers will be working October, November, December, hopefully taking a final recommendation to you no later than March. So hopefully the February meeting, it might be the April meeting. It will be the April meeting, but we've got to dial it down and decide what core materials will we want that meet the community that we live in, and also will help student outcomes improve. We'll take that forward. These are all approximate timelines. I'm always adjusting because people give us input and, oh, that's gonna take us a little bit longer. So that's a big part of your role, is this kind of stuff. So taking the time to dig in. You won't have 4 months is unusual to look at health materials. That is not typical and not to be expected. You will have about a month to look at social studies materials, maybe 2. Well, you'll have a couple of months because the community will also get to see and input, and we will meet again in May. And so there will be lots of opportunities to offer input into what you're seeing in the social studies materials that we bring forward. Any questions about the social studies process?
I would just speak up to everybody, those of you who are newer or have been here a while, just how important these kinds of things are. This is what we're here for. We're here for a lot of things, but go look at it. Even if you don't sit down and read a whole textbook, just glance through it, and then share your thoughts first with them, because that's where they can like make changes.
Adjust.
Yeah. But then also, you know, as you get comfortable with it, share your thoughts with the community, especially once you know we've gotten somewhere good. To then reassure people in the community and around us so that they know this is a good move. So they don't show up last minute and go, wait, why is this? You know, but so that you know you've seen it, you can share with them. They can reassure, you know, we can reassure the community.
And also
too.
share ways that they can look at it themselves so
Absolutely.
that
Ahead,
they
way
don't
ahead of-
share an opinion
Just
created on somebody else's
Gossip.
opinion. That they, you know, if you have you know, here's how you can go look at it.
Yeah, go see it for yourself. That's all.
Okay. For next month, because we canceled last month, we decided to schedule one in December. Or do we need to? Are there topics in particular you want us to circle back to? Because if there's, we don't typically meet in December because there's a lot, I won't be here actually. So it'll be Susan and the team from the high school, but if you have topics or things you'd like to know some more information about, we can bring those forward.
We can do that anytime,
We
but
can
is
do-
it pressing? You know, that you feel like,
Does anybody feel like they need a December meeting? I'll say.
Go.
Well, I'll say, just a suggestion, instead of a meeting, would you send a reminder to review the materials?
Oh, good idea.
You know, with the links there again, just,
so you can do on your first
Yeah.
Thursday in December.
right? Well, even if you don't do it then, you know,
Yeah.
just that reminder that, oh yeah, here are the links, make sure you check on those texts and
Love
things,
it.
so
So
that
no meeting in December,
then we just.
time to do some review of health materials. Love that idea. Yeah.
So.
Anything else going on that you want us to, I mean, we have just a minute. We don't typically have 5 minutes at the end, but.
I appreciate what you've done with the health curriculum, because I was part of all that last year mess.
Yeah, yeah.
And just, you know, recognizing it's not ideal to not be in compliance.
Mhm.
And part of that was, you know, what the board did with that.
Yep.
And so just that we're in a better place. And
Yep.
Good work.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Good.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Seriously, if you ever have something online too, if you ever have something, shoot Susan or I an email. Get something on an agenda. We appreciate your participation and we'll see you in 2026. Woo! Happy holidays, everybody. Second Thursday in January. All right, bye.